Life is but a brief moment of light amongst an ever-ending darkness. At its heart lies a nightmare, a series of events that shows us something so real it terrifies us. From this nightmare we learn who we really are and how the world really is. Any number of nightmares present themselves in the course of our lives, but it was written that I should be loyal to the nightmare of my own choice. That is where this story begins. Like all stories, mine begun with a meager beginning. One day, I was sitting around with a few shipmen at a dock, gambling.
Dude, you always win.
You see, I don't always win. I lost. That's why I'm a sailor currently.
I'm a sailor because, sailing was the only thing I was good at in Boy Scouts. How about you, Marlo?
Yeah, Marlo. How you become a sailor?
You see, when I was a boy, I used to have this obsession with maps. I had a map in my room, and one day I was looking at it, and this part of the map just popped out at me. It was the Congo River, and since then I've been obsessed with seeing it through my own eyes.
Too bad we're in East LA and we're longshoremen.
I hear the drums echoing tonight. She hears only whispers of some quiet conversation. She's coming in a 12:30 flight. The moonlit wings reflect the stars that guide me towards salvation. I stopped an old man along the way, hoping to find some old forgotten words or ancient melodies. He turned to me as if to say, "Hurry, boy, it's waiting there for you." Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. I bless the rains down in Africa. Gonna take some time to do the things we never had. The wild dogs cry out in the night as they grow restless, longing for some solitary company. I know that I must do what's right, sure as Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti.
My phone rang. It was Kurt's. A name I've forgotten why I knew, but almost certainly one I would never forget. My memory of what he told me abandons me at the moment, but I knew I needed to find him. It was of dire importance. So, I began my venture to find my lost comrade, whose whereabouts I could only glean from that brief conversation on the phone, but luckily I heard a specific ring that could only be heard at Wells Fargo. My oldest friend accompanied me, eager to see the world as it had once been, but this kind of blind enthusiasm only shows how vulnerable one is to the inevitable suffering of one's existence. As we arrived at the second station, I felt a bit of relief. The bleak and dismal atmosphere made the area seem somewhat commonplace and bearable compared to the rough, inner-city Compton life outside. What I soon discovered was that simply nothing happened here. Nothing was accomplished. No one really did anything because there wasn't really anything to do. And at the heart of it, a broken ice cream machine, dispensing nothing but white tears and melted
Where the
dreams.
sun shines
unlock moment where me and my true love spends many days on the banks of Loch Lomond. We part.
Then suddenly, as we left the second station, we found a clue. Something that told us we were on the right track. Kurtz's jacket. My friend recognized it as such, thankfully, his greatest contribution to our cause so far. So he was here not too long ago. With this piece of the puzzle now found, we went on to find our man. But it was at this moment, confounded by the inner workings of my own mind, and, in a brief moment of oversight, I forgot to check behind me as I backed up. My friend was dead. In that moment, I realized his nightmare had occurred in those few brief seconds as I backed up. Lucky bastard. His time ran out, but there was still some sand left in my hourglass. But his eyes, they stabbed at me like daggers, exposing the truth of the world. I had to close them, but they wouldn't stay closed. It was as though he was trying to tell me something. What it was, I didn't want to hear it. To this day, I don't care what his dead eyes were saying. Troubled as I initially was by killing him, couldn't have been that important, or he would have said something when he was alive.
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Then, as I was walking towards the final station, I saw him. A 7-foot beast of a man. He seemed to know who I was even before I did.
Where's it at?
At that point, I told him why I was looking for him. Well, actually, in hindsight, I don't really know why I was looking for him, and if I don't know why, I don't know exactly what I told him. Anyway, it could have been something about plot coherence, something about making a philosophical point, or maybe it was just an excuse to do some deep and profound monologue. Either way, I had found him. Suddenly, he got up, walked away from me, and then collapsed again. This time with a bit more of a dramatic effect. This time I knew he was dying. It must have been sickness from his time at the army. I somehow managed to get him in my car. He was safe from the savage natives who I'm sure were surrounding the area.
Could you turn on the heat?
He struggled for life in the back of my car, mumbling to himself often. I only caught bits of what he was mumbling about. Politics, what would happen to his personal finances after he died, movies he wanted to see, how taxation was theft, garden variety deathbed dialogue. His last words, though, would have an impact on me for the rest of my life.
What you say?
And just like that, the world's greatest thinker, I or anyone had ever known, had died. The greatest man ever, surely. The world's hero, the one we deserve, not just the one we need. The world's greatest juggler, the world's... Ever since then, I can hardly breathe. I can hardly walk. I feel like half the man I was back then. The guilt and grief have shaken me to my core. But at least I have my other friend. The friend who inexplicably disappeared, made his way back at the end to console me.